Hi everyone, this is Allan McKay and welcome to episode 25. This is part 2 of talking to Sol Rogers. Lots of really great career insight and other goofy stuff. Let's get in there.
Welcome to the Allan McKay podcast. Allan is an Emmy Award-winning visual effects artist and mentor to many leading industry experts. Listen in as Allan talks with other industry leaders in film, video games, and visual effects about their experience, lessons, and methodology. Allan will teach you pivotal advice to fast-track your career, better your skills, and reach your ultimate dream job. Check out the latest episodes on allanmckay.com.
Okay, so this is part 2 of my interview with Sol. This is a really great episode. Basically, Sol and I talked about a lot of really great stuff. He has so much insight into careers, into a lot of the industry, and it was so cool to talk to someone about all of this stuff. Now, at the same time, the last episode I wanted to keep on track. I want to keep it specifically focused on VR or virtual reality. So I wanted to make a second episode as a bonus just to give more insight and cover a lot of other cool stuff. I've already gotten so much great feedback from people saying how cool the episode was and how they wanted to have more. So this is a great opportunity to get more. So lastly, as always, leave a comment on my blog. I'd love to hear from you, and I've been replying to everything that I can. It's been crazy busy lately, but it's been so good to get so much feedback from you guys. And also, add me to Facebook. Just add me on there, and I'm happy to interact and talk to you guys. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about these current episodes and any upcoming ones that you have ideas about. I've got some really awesome ones coming out with some really amazing artists, people that you've all heard of. It's going to be so cool. I'm actually also interviewing Chaos Group, who are the makers of V-Ray and Phoenix and everything else, in a future episode, as well as some other really amazing artists. The co-founder of Zerply, who is Zerply is an amazing job finding website. It's going to be the future of finding work in the distant future. So I'll be talking about that, as well as a lot more really great insight. Either way, let's get in there. Thanks for listening. I'd love to hear from you, and let's do this. All right, hi everyone. This is Allan McKay. I'm here with Sol Rogers, who's a really good friend of mine and managing director and founder of Rewind Effects. And Sol, I'm going to let you do a bit of an intro on yourself. You got 30 seconds, go.
Hi everybody. So I founded Rewind Effects about 4 years ago to create animation and visual effects, and over the last 2 years we've got really heavily into creative technology and virtual reality and Kinect and Hololens and you name it. But before then I've been a lecturer in animation for the last 12 to 14 years and taught about 1,000 people there. They're in every Soho-based company and every games company I can name over the minute, so I'm pretty proud of that.
You're at the godfather of 3D now. Everywhere you go, people are going to come down and hand you a bagel.
It's kind of nice. I was saying to someone the other day, maybe if I got 10% of everyone's wages, that'd be pretty sweet.
even 1%, but that sounds good.
Sign them up when they're young.
I thought I'd throw you in the deep end here just because I've been having fun with this lately and just go right into it. So I'm going to ask you, what was the most challenging project you've done to date? And I'm not saying the funnest or the most fulfilling, the most challenging.
Okay. Probably the most challenging was last summer when we did the Lexus NX virtual reality car configurator. It was a pretty behemoth of a project, let alone it's a car configurator in any terms. It's a bit of a beast to kind of get CAD and make it look nice. But doing it in VR and doing it all in real time in Unreal was an absolute headache because no one had ever done it before when we were taking it on. So learning how to get Unreal Engine to work in stereo, work with non-screen space effects and all the kind of technical craziness that goes on with virtual reality as we do it now. But also, lining alongside it is trying to work with clients that have never used virtual reality before, and also trying to deliver a product into a market before it even existed. So we had to try and deliver Oculus DK2, and we didn't even have one. So we were working kind of blind, and the day they delivered it, we had some units a little earlier than everybody else, and kind of went, "Oh shit, it works!"
Wow!
But it was a fly to Japan and go and meet kind of Toyota Motor Group, fly to kind of Brussels, fly over the place. It was a lot of juggling and a lot of people's expectations, and then also delivering something which hadn't been done before was a stretch. A lot of long nights, a lot of grabbing the forehead, kind of like, okay, we can do this.
What the hell is a car configurator?
So the Lexus car configurator we built was actually like so you go to most websites and you can pick a vehicle, you can pick the paint color, the trim, the wheels, the sat nav, and like you get like 36 like rotation angles to view your CG version of your car. But what we did, because we did it in real time, is we made it so you could change it to any of the kind of configurations that they possibly could. And because it was in VR, you actually got to sit in the vehicle and wearing the head, in VR and look around the entire place, and then kind of lean in and check out the dash, and then take it for a virtual test drive.
That's really awesome.
So it was the first time it had been done, and the nice thing about doing it with Oculus or VR support is that you get stereo depth, and you get to appreciate the size of the space, the size of the cabin, and all the kind of finer details that you just don't get when you're kind of doing kind of a rendered thing.
How is it received? And I'm more talking about on the client end, on the customer end. Like, did you get to experience it yourself, or get to see other people experience it? Yeah,
so we built 32 kind of high-end little machines that we got shipped out to kind of various events and kind of motor shows. And people, the things that we got tied up with, people didn't see. We were down to intricate details, caring about every kind of reflection and tiny little kind of nuances in the animation. And because this was a lot of people's first times trying a virtual reality headset, whatever they saw was going to knock them on their ass.
Yeah.
They were just utterly impressed, and they come off smiling and wide-eyed and kind of, wow, what was that, man? And you're like, oh, fuck, I forget. People kind of haven't seen this before. Right, this is a completely new way of seeing. So it was a real buzz seeing people's reactions to it, let alone the actual details. So the guys that kind of working with the client quite closely over time, they'd got really into it as well. So they were really beginning to be really nitpicky about the finer details, and they were getting really happy that, if they wanted to change, a door handle or a little kind of thing on the dash, it was just like 2 clicks and export a new build. It wasn't kind of render for 4 days and then through a comp pipeline, and then it was just like, yeah, whatever you want, we'll change it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I do remember like when we caught up for beers, and I was telling you how we catch up for beers a lot, but in LA, and I was telling you how obsessed I was with the Oculus Rift, yet I had never used it. So you would invite me back to your hotel to check it out, and I thought maybe that's a new line that you're trying out. But I mean, it's pretty amazing. And do you actually think that possibly the whole kind of bait and switch with the new tech, the new toys is gonna it's one way to kind of win customers over if they're always like, holy crap, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, I've pushed what we Rewind was a post-production studio, an animation production house, but turning it more into, we still do a lot of that sort of work, but turning it more into being a creative technology company, utilizing whatever the newest bit of tech is for marketing purposes, has really given us a bit of an edge, which allows us to deliver things that people haven't seen before in new and interesting ways. So that means that, and all marketing people want to make, as big a noise as they can. And so a big kind of, a new piece of technology never been used before is an easy way to make a big splash. So everyone's now wanting like new tech this, or has anyone done this before? Cool, let's do that. Mm-hmm. And it's, it used to be, let's do a flash mob, and someone will, and then people will write about it. Now it's like, let's make a bespoke piece of hardware and get a Kickstarter funded thing behind before anyone even write about it. So it's always got to be newer and better and newer and better.
Actually, that's one thing I want to get into is how initially you went from university, and we'll dive into that in a minute, but like to launching your own company. And like, I'm assuming that your intent is more to do with post-production visual effects, but was there a certain point in time where you're like, wow, like we're doing all this VR stuff and it's like totally taking off, like maybe we should redirect things, or at least put a lot more focus into this?
Absolutely. For me, when we started out in a really easy and organic way. I didn't mean to have a company at all. I just kind of got too much work for myself, and then got someone else involved, and we had too much work for us, and then we got someone else involved. Next thing I turn around, there's like 10 guys sitting in an office, and then I look down again, I look up now, and there's like 25 people here. I'm like, what happened? We were just hanging out, doing a little bit of work.
Now goes responsibility. It's like I became a parent. Like,
goddamn wages. But no, it's great. I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. Cool. But 2 years ago, we were, if you kind of show an old show reel, it's all CG. It's all kind of visualization and kind of motion graphics work and bits of visual effects and kind of bit of projection mapping stuff. But when we but what I've noticed then was a bit of a change in the industry, which is everybody's fighting for the same pictures and the same piece of work and the same piece of pie. So especially in London, there's a kind of 100 or 150 medium-sized post houses, and when you're up against everybody else, all you can do is either go cheapest or quickest. And if you're going to go quickest, you're probably not going to be able to do the good piece of work. And if you're going to do it cheapest, you're probably not going to be able to do the best piece of work. So everyone's kind of grinding that down and down and down. So trying to make a living and start a studio out of kind of traditional post is really fucking hard. But, we managed to get it to a good point. But when I noticed that no one was looking at VR at all, especially for marketing purposes, I kind of jumped on it pretty early because it's the same processes, just a real-time render. You've got a whole bunch of other cinematography things to take into it, and understanding of new tech that, new tech never works. You have to always find a way through it. But it also gave me kind of massive leverage. So I go into a meeting and offer them, that I'll go into a meeting to talk about a traditional piece of kind of post work. But at the time, I'll then say, by the end of the meeting, it's kind of almost like the Steve Jobs, just one more thing. I just come back and go, oh, by the way, have you seen out this VR stuff? Wouldn't it be cool to do this with your product or your piece of marketing? And they just fall off their seats going, what the hell is that? So it kind of just gave me a real leg up compared to what everyone else was doing. And we became the guys, especially in the UK, who were doing VR first and taking on big projects. And so instead of me pitching against the other 100 companies or whatever ones they're working with, it's me and one other company I'm up against. I know who the other 2 or 3 competitors are, so we use it as a real kind of leveraging tool. It also is kind of a qualifier.
Yep.
So we go back into these companies with kind of VR tech, and then we show, oh, by the way, we can also do all this other post stuff. So it's kind of gets my foot in the door quite early, because we're still a small studio compared to everybody else, but it's being ahead of the curve in virtual reality at the moment is really giving us a leg up.
Yeah, plus you can always come to the client and say, well, we're using Unreal Tech, so we can add a gun if you need one. That's awesome, man.
I've had that a couple of times. A huge architectural viz project in VR in real time in Unreal, and the first thing the CEO said was like, where's the guns? I was like, turn them off. We don't want to do that. And he's like, okay. And then he gets to the roof, and we put a little helicopter up there. You can fly around the building. And he goes, has the helicopter got guns? I'm like, right, I took them off as well. But I'll make you a special build. You can have a massive multiplayer version.
Yeah, you send out a bid, like one with and one without guns. That's really cool, man. Actually, I love to hear stuff like that. I put out an article, is a private email to my list, just basically the other day about, how to position yourself when going for work, with position yourself in high demand, low supply. So the most ideal thing is that you want to go to studios, whether it's go to countries or different industries, or even just within your own studio, but position yourself in high demand. In other words, have something you can bring to the table that no one else can, and do Absolutely. That in a low supply industry, so that way you literally can make a big splash and make yourself irreplaceable, or be able to have a lot more control over what's going on. So in this, I mean, you're doing it to an entire industry.
Yeah, it's finding new. It's the same as anyone's been doing for years in any industry. If you think you're kind of mining for gold, you just dig away at everything, and then if you find a seam, you just follow it. Follow that seam all the way through, and until everyone else jumps on the back of it. So it's really tough. I mean, the industry that we're in, and we've been in for the last 10, 15 years, has been continuously adapting and changing. You go at the start of it, there weren't many people that could do really beautiful whatever, simulated or animation or whatever. And now the software's got more prolific, and the skill set's got this, and there's more schools churning out more talented artists. There's going to be more companies and more people doing it. So the industry's getting saturated with good talent. There's good people out there. So to be you're not in such high demand for those jobs, because there's more people that can do it to that level. But what I'm trying to do with Rewind is make sure that we're kind of just ahead of that. So once everyone else gets involved with VR, like I give us 12 to 18 months of doing kind of big virtual reality projects before we'll be looking out of it. We'll surf the wave whilst it's getting bigger and bigger, and just as it begins to crash, we'll kind of nip out the end of it and find the next one to catch, because I don't want to be caught up with the kind of the fight with everybody else to the bottom.
Yeah.
In VFX, especially in London, there's just a continuous scrabble for the bottom with the big guys all fighting each other for the lowest margins, and people just get overworked and underpaid.
Yep.
And no one can do good work anymore. You end up going work which is good enough instead of work that is, excellent.
No, I completely agree there. It's I don't know. I kind of try and keep away from the industry doom and gloom stuff, but
it's not doom and gloom. I mean, there's great out. There's loads of good stuff out there.
I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm more talking about in general. Like, there's so many people who are talking about like the industry and like it's all going downhill. And my message I've always said is just more, to learn to adapt. And if you are, which is actually exactly what you're doing, if you're adapting, then you're always going to be able to turn, what's the expression with the lemons into lemonade? But you're essentially able to kind of think on your feet and adapt and keep changing, roll with the punches, and I think that's really key. And the people who kind of stick with their old tricks are, essentially they're going to eventually, become extinct. But
someone's going to surpass them so fast with a new, there's people who had beautiful pipelines and years of knowledge around some way of doing something specific. And then Autodesk will bring out a product that just does it with 3 clicks. Yep. You're like, so what was that for? Well, then it's fine. You've now just got that. Now move on to the next thing. The thing that doesn't change is people's ability to be problem solvers and creative thinkers.
I completely
those
agree.
Things. And then you just whatever the tool put in front of you. I always say I'm hardware and software agnostic. I don't give a damn what's in front of me. Just put it in front of me. I'll work it out.
That's exactly it. That's always been my philosophy. And I was actually at Capitol Records. I had a meeting last week in the Capitol Records building in Hollywood, and it kind of made me think. So it made me think about that, just because the music industry is exactly a great example where Napster and everything else came out, and instantly it's like, okay, the record industry is going to hell. It's going to crash and become obsolete. And the thing is that the people who decide, okay, well, I'm going to keep selling CDs the way that they've always been sold, they're going to crash. But everyone else who switches, they're going to adapt and they're going to roll with the new tech or the new way of doing things, and they're going to thrive. And like for me, like if you look at music piracy, everything like that, I find it like me to pirate a track. I know we're going off track here, but
you've talked about this stuff before, so yeah, I like it.
Well, yeah, just to pirate like a song or something, for me, that sounds like a lot of work. I got to go to a computer and I got to like go find something, download it, put it on my device. I mean, I'll go to iTunes, and I several times yesterday, I'm just log on, buy a single song, and then I've got it. It's like 2 clicks. The most annoying part is putting my password in. And of course, Apple fixed that with now you got the thumbprint tech. So it's one of those things that like as long as you're able to look at a situation and problem solve, then you're going to adapt, and that's the whole point of business, is to continue to evolve.
Yeah, I think people get very. I mean, it's a business thing. I mean, you are a one-man business, and I'm a 25-man business, but it's the same thing. You set up you set up your shop, and you set up your your machine, your cogs, and you turn the handle which brings stuff in the top, and you hope it kind of goes through the middle and comes out the end, and more in, less out, and that's your pipeline. Whatever the business, the trade is, or the company is. Mm-hmm. But as soon as someone comes and messes with the system you've spent ages developing, people throw their toys out of them. They get really angry and all this sort of stuff. But actually, just because it's always been that way doesn't mean it has to stay that way. I mean, case in point, Uber. It's doing amazing things for kind of disrupting a business model and improving it massively. I think kind of giving people the ability to rate each other. Who's driving you. You've got the fees down. Anyone can be. It's really opening the whole thing. But every city it comes to, the current business model of all the people that are doing it the old way get angry and upset because of things being changed underneath them. They don't want it changed because they spent time developing it. Yep. But I think you've got to let these things happen. It's just evolution. It's the change of the business, change of the industry, and everything changes along with it. I hate survival of the fittest, but I think there's kind of it's got to be an evolution of kind of fit for purpose.
Yeah,
and things are adapting.
I think that's where passion comes into it. If you're passionate about something, you want to do it. I mean, it's kind of funny, but there's certain things I obsess about. Like I've a few obsessions. Yet Uber and VR are actually. And you probably don't know this, but both of my big obsessions. It's more just like whenever there's an article coming out with either, I instantly read up and kind of divulge every single part of it. And indulge, I should say. But yeah, basically, I've found that to be really interesting with Uber, just because for me, it is survival of the fittest. It's like, look, someone's brought out a better way of doing something, and everyone is fighting it. And like, why are you doing that? You know, and you think of the cab drivers, every cab driver complains. They're like, most cab drivers are quite rude because they didn't get the fare that they expected and blah, blah, blah. And the whole cab system, like, it works, but it's obsolete. So usually you call, it goes to dispatch puts out a call randomly to anyone, and whoever gets it first gets it. So it doesn't matter about whether they're 20 minutes away or whatever. So then on top of that, like, they might get a call, a fare on the way or something, so that you get lost, and it's 45 minutes before you find out. I use cabs a lot. I spend about 20 grand a year on taxis just because I don't have a license. And but the thing is, it's worked for me my entire life. I get around, like, New York, anywhere I need to go, I can get around very easily. But when Uber came out, it kind of changed everything, because it went from, I need to plan ahead, an hour, just in case. Because the whole philosophy of, it's better to be 20 minutes early than 5 minutes late. Yeah, I mean, Uber has just made it so it's like, within 3 minutes I can get a cab. I don't need to pay, so there's like, not the downtime of having to put my credit card in and all the other stuff. It works, but yeah, everyone fights it, and I've read up so much about like everything, and their whole philosophy, their end game isn't to do with replacing taxi companies. It's about replacing everyone on the street. So they want to have cars, all Uber cars out on the street, which is funny that like, I think there's been talks with Google and Uber coming together, which I find fascinating, because
it's like Uber.
Yeah. Total recall is going to happen where you got the driving cars on the street that are all self-drive.
I think it's great. I think the thing that I think is the most important thing about it is the ability that it gives people the ability to what's the term? Like, have the rating system. So drivers are rated, and I'm rated. I know who I'm getting in the car with. I know how they've done with other people on journeys before. So they always have to stay above a certain range to keep their job, not just have a test every year or two. Yeah. And also, me as a customer, I didn't realize, but I've got a rating, and currently I'm very proud of this. I'm a 5-star Uber customer. So it means when I pop my little message up, everyone wants to take a job with me because I'm, polite, pay well, haven't thrown up in their cab, etc., etc., etc. Whatever the other reasons they want to rate me. But I think that's lovely that if I'm a bad customer, they shouldn't have to pick me up.
But
they should know the sort of person that gets in the back of the cab.
Yeah, but that's the. I mean, we could spend a whole episode on Uber, but I mean,
sorry,
no, it is kind of fascinating. But I will just say that like the difference is, and this is always the taxi drivers kind of debate, is that there is a rating system for customers, and most customers aren't aware of this, but it doesn't really reflect on anything, because it's not like they have a choice whether or not to pick you up, and they can't deny you because of that either. It's more to do with if you're putting in complaints, then you've got a really low rating and you're complaining about someone, then probably they're going to favor the driver. Whereas the driver themselves, like if they go below, I think it's 4.5 or it might be 4.4, but either way they lose their job. And so most people don't know this, but on their first day, if they get a single rating that isn't 5 stars, then they lose their job. And that's more to do with quality assurance that way. So that way they need to be getting, all good ratings throughout the first couple of days, which is kind of bad because it means they're always on edge. But it does at least mean that, like, at least with taxi drivers, if you have a bad taxi driver, bad experience, and like that doesn't happen, because it's like with anything, Yelp or anything else, you read reviews, it means that if something's not enjoyable, then you don't need to, about it.
How about this? How about we put this in? How about can we put this into our industry? For rating for freelancers and contractors. Mm-hmm. So the actual businesses that employ people get rated on their, how they employ people, how they pay people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also the freelancers themselves. I mean, we have a little bit of that coming through LinkedIn with the kind of rating and, reviews, but it's only ever positive stuff. There isn't actually an honest place to collect data. We've got a bit of a thing in the UK where they call it checker trade, which isn't to do with kind of animation, but it's all to do with like your plumber, your electrician, or whatever else. Mm-hmm. But I can check out the ones that have got good ratings from people, reviews, and that sort of stuff.
You can Yelp Sol Rogers or something.
I don't know. Maybe there'll be a point. I mean, the industry that we're in, there is such a kind of migration of talent between the big studios and the big post houses and everything else. So you could imagine the point where it's just kind of one set of people.
There is a little bit. There's Glass House, I think it's called, or something similar to that. Glass Stores, but that's more to do with the studios. And I mean, if anyone wants to check it out, it's I'll put a link to it. But basically, it has reviews of every studio as well as their average salaries, reputation, stuff like that. To an extent, I think you need to kind of create a membership to kind of get in and see like all the nitty gritty details. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like, not to be negative about the visual effects industry, but you got to take it for what it is. And so therefore, like, I've met people.
Well, like it's like the drunk uncle at a party. You have to put up with
it. Well, it is one of those things. I mean, on both ends, like there are studios that have a really bad reputation, but people need work. They're going to go there. And I have had some people say, okay, well, you've got a bad rep, so for paying people, so therefore you need to pay me on time every single time. The day you don't pay me is the day I don't show up on Monday. And it just kind of sucks that, you need to even go to that extent. But I've seen it on the other end where there's very few people in this industry who are really bad, but there is like, one or two people that come to mind that are just terrible human beings. And it's the only way to say it. It's not like, okay, well, you're a bad worker, you've got bad work ethic. It's like, no, like you are someone who is going to sabotage people's personal lives and everything else. And the thing is that those people still, like, I've seen those people consistently get work because it actually comes down to people who are kind of curious at that point. Like, they hear so much bad reputation about them. They're like, this person can't be as bad as everyone's saying. Like, I got to hire him just to see. And and naturally they're like, okay, we pretty much lost a few $100,000 because of like all this stuff, and you lost our client. Like, we will never do that again. So it's kind of like, doing heroin or something isn't bad. Let's just try this out. It's like, there goes my TV, my wife, my car, and everything else.
Everything.
So yeah, I mean, my whole philosophy is that people in this industry, it's kind of like it isn't more a luxury, I guess. Whereas like finding the right cleaner or the right renovator or something like that is more, you can kind of pick and choose. It's more, who this person might have a bad reputation, but they're like, this studio, but they're giving me a lower bid than the other studio, and that's all I care about. Then I'm going to go with them and risk it all.
Well, I've been quite lucky with the people that who work for me full time. I've got. I hire people first, and then skill set second, because of the way that we're going to have to. We're changing shape all the time of the type of work we do and how we deliver it. So I'm less bothered about what software they use, what buttons they can push in the right way, and more of the type of personality they are, whether they're creative problem solvers, whether they can adapt, whether they want to get involved, whether they've got passion, whether they get excited about the super geeky tech that we're involved with. Because the more passionate you are about it, the more you're going to want to do it and think up a new crazy way of delivering it. I don't really care whether you can, you're a 2015 3D Studio Max expert. It's going to be 2016 soon, and we're going to have to do a Maya project next, or it's all in Unreal. Yep. It's going to adapt and change.
That's exactly it.
I've been very lucky, and I've got, I've said this before, but I've got like a real strong business ethic I'm trying to stick to and hold on to, even though, it keeps getting tested by kind of unscrupulous clients and unscrupulous agencies. But I want to do really good work for really nice clients for a really fair price. It's like a little holy trinity. And if I can keep them in that way, if I can be honest about wanting to do a good job, and if they can be honest and not being like, client drifting, assholes, last minute changes. You always get a client that rings you on a Friday night at 6 and changes everything and gives you no time and no additional budget. Mm-hmm. Or if I don't, if I get underpaid or I overcharge, they're not going to come and work with me again. So I try and keep everything as honest and as straight above board as possible. And it's worked really well, because the clients we work well with, we have a phenomenal relationship with. It's more about friends and having a beer than it is about delivering anything else. And if that relationship is honest, we can just smash it every time, because they're happy and we're happy.
I think that's really important, and it means that both of you are going to be upfront and honest with each other, so they're not screwing you, you're not screwing them. Like there's that synergy there, and I think that is really key. I've had one client in particular, but I've had a couple of clients like where I've done this, and one was a 7-figure client, and I literally had to turn away their work because it just got to the point where whenever they called, I could feel my blood pressure rising, and I would go on a flight.
Not worth it.
I would land, and I'd have 13 missed calls, and this was like just in the pre-production, like the lead up to a project, and it just made me think like, what is this going to be like? Is it going to be worth it in the end? And I just kind of realized, like, you know what, I'm going to make that money elsewhere. I'm going to enjoy my life and be happy. And like just sending the email saying, you know what, I appreciate your business, but unfortunately we can't work together, and you know, maybe we can talk about this later.
It's a tough thing, turning away money. You know, as soon as you break the trust in the relationship, it goes wrong. The first thing is trying to build trust with a client or an employer, or you know, I know we talked about these things before, but building it and keeping that trust and keeping it going, and not kind of being distracted by it is so hard.
Absolutely.
I have this thing that I know for every 10 relationships, like 9 of them are going to be fantastic because I go in like positive, open palms. I show them everything. We do a great job.
You go in with a hug.
I do. I'm a hugger. I know it. But on the 10th one, I'm going to get dicked over. I'm going to lose money, lose whatever, you know, get stabbed in the back by them and ripped off. But I'd rather have 9 good and 1 really bad than treat everybody with, you know, worry and super contracts and super this and tie everything down and, you know, try and squeeze every tiny little bit better budget out of it. But it's good because the relationships we have, we keep going, and the clients always come back, and that's the biggest compliment. If you know, if they come back from a work, you must have done a good job. They must have had a good time.
I think it's great. I mean, throughout my career, same way. There's certain clients I've had through and through, like all the time, and it's because you trust them, which is also a very difficult thing to be able to say. You know, I trust these guys, and you know, I'm happy to kind of put myself in that vulnerable position of knowing, like, you know, they're going to do right by me. So therefore, you don't have to keep your walls up. But I mean, yeah, just consistent work and having consistent relationships. I think that this entire industry and business in general is all about relationships. And that's one thing I've always said before is like, if you're applying for a job, don't apply like, you know, you don't go to someone saying, hey, give me this. I don't know you, but give me this. I always go in and say, like, build a relationship with them, and naturally all that stuff's going to come. And it means that even if it doesn't happen the first time, there's going to be 10 other opportunities with those people, because they know who you are at this point. They're going to be thinking about you. Not in a stalkish way, but I mean, I do think
they also recommend you on. You get it all the time. I get it all the time. Oh, have you got anyone you could recommend to help me out with this, or a freelance, or you know, another company or something? This, and I've got a huge network of friends, or you know, employees, employers, and clients, and I go, oh yeah, you should talk to so and so. He's fantastic. You know, and I'll recommend people that are good, and that's all about this. You know, this good thing. I have this. This statement, you know, I've taught almost 1,000 students of my time, and day one of their first lecture, I said, you know, the most important thing for, you know, getting a job in this industry and keeping it is just don't be a dick. And that's like, and they always laugh at it, but it's true. And you know, I come up and see some of my guys now. One's he's just got a lead animator on Game of Thrones, and we were chatting. He was like, "Yeah, I remember day one. I'm still sticking to that."
It's funny how many people that you meet, and they will always remember it sounds like whatever is the first thing they get introduced to, like that's going to be their, you know, it's going to set the tone of their career. Because I know some people who have like, yeah, my lecturer came in and said, look at the people around you. They're all going to get let go, and they're not going to make it through the next 2 years of the industry. And yeah, it's just amazing how crippling that can be. I did an episode with Todd Sheridan Perry, and we both kind of came to that conclusion. It's like, one of the most important things is don't be a dick. And since then, I've been quoted on that so much that I felt like, you know, maybe we should get a T-shirt.
It's true, though. It's absolutely fucking true. You can be an amazing employee, but if you're not going to get on with the rest of the team and you're going to be a bit of a thorn, I'd rather take the guy that isn't quite as talented, who's actually going to be a team player to help us deliver this.
Yes,
because when it's 2 a.m, you just want someone who goes, you know, anyone tea, coffee, maybe a little Nerf gun battle, you know, see how it goes. But it's got to have some lightness of it. You've got to enjoy what you do.
I completely agree. Sorry to keep turning these into little anecdotes of mine, but like one of my friends at Microsoft, she was asking me once when she was applying for a job on Halo, like whether or not she should take down all of her pictures of her drinking on Facebook. And it wasn't like she's like drinking. It's like, oh, I might be out with my friends and I've got a drink in my hand. Should I replace that with a game controller? Like, but she was asking, like, whether or not, like, they go through your social media, because she'd heard that a lot, and whether it's a negative thing to have like pictures of you with alcohol in your hand. And I said to her, I mean, as long as it's not like you doing Jello shots off of people in like every fifth picture, I mean, it's gonna be better to have pictures of you drinking than not, because at the end of the day, like, if you're going through your hard hours, everyone wants to know that you're gonna be someone that they can have a beer with after work and shoot the shit and hang out with. And if you're someone who every single picture is you at your desk working and you're doing like weird stuff, then it's just going to be like, all right, well, you're a bit of a liability in the personality department. So I mean, the more normal you are, the better.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also, every company is different. So what may be perfect for one company is going to be completely different for everybody else. And it's, we said about, writing CVs and doing show reels. Don't have a generic one and send it to everybody. Tailor it for every company you want to work for. If you want to come and work for Rewind, I'd love to see some, VR, some real time, some modeling, a little bit of, extreme sports stuff, because that's what we're doing. If you're going to send me a load of really beautiful ZBrush sculpted orcs and goblins, I got no work for you. Why are you sending me this show reel? It's not going to work. And it's the same as the personality of the company. You can see it just kind of on the social media of the company you're applying for. Look at the type of people and see if you fit. Because if you don't fit, that's fine, but the companies, and most companies, even the big ones, they don't want to fill themselves up with people that don't fit with everybody else. So you've got to be part of the team. Luckily, most kind of VFX, CG, animation-y, gamesy, geeky types are all cut from the same cloth in some ways. But, it's if you're not going to enjoy the people you're going to work with, then don't work there. Go and do something else.
Yeah.
Go and find the company where everyone wears suits every day, or go find the company where everyone has massive hipster beards and rides fixie bikes.
Go to San Francisco.
Yeah, well,
go make an app.
Go find the people you want to work with in that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I could talk to you about stuff all day long, but so maybe we'll do another episode.
Yeah.
So let's just jump back on track. I figured it'd be kind of fun, just to kind of recap over like how we met, which was SIGGRAPH, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that driving a car and having someone jump out of lights? Can't remember.
Yeah, so we got a mutual friend, Ben Richards, who was at Autodesk at the time, and I've known, actually, where he started his career, like back in Australia, was pretty much like one of the earlier places I worked, and so we had a lot in common. I actually met Ben, like, we talked about each other back and forth, like here and there, but never actually met until I met him in Shanghai, and someone just said, like, you got to go talk to Ben. And I'm like, okay, where is he? He's like, he's at this restaurant. And I guess at the time, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but he loved his job. He's very good at it. But at the same time, I think he was a little bit kind of over all the travel and all the sacrifices you make. So he's kind of like, okay, we got 20 minutes before we got to go on stage. So I've ordered us some lunch. And he's just like, ordered his credit card, the entire table of food, like we're barely going to put a dent into, but it's like, hey, here's some options. So, that was the first time I met him, and like we had a great time. In fact, like instantly, just like you, and not to get all mushy, but instantly connected. Just, you can tell when people are really good, genuine, great people. And,
he's really down to earth guy. So I'd been bumping into him for a while at different, because of going to lots of conferences and lots of speaker things, and got quite in with Autodesk in the UK. So I think they were kind of lining me up for taking some sort of Autodesk job, because they kept asking me to come to different events. And then when I was at SIGGRAPH, I met up with him, and we just got really drunk. And then the next thing goes, let's go and hang out with Allan. And just hit it off at the bar, I think. And then spent a couple of evenings together and a couple of long drives. Not in the wrong way, but we spent some time in town. But I just remember we were driving back up. I was driving like classic Englishman, like driving a convertible Mustang, obviously, because that's what English people do when they go to America.
It's what everyone does.
There was some bad traffic and the roof was down, and we were at some crazy big crossroads. And Ben just looked at me, he's like, I've got to go. I was like, what do you mean you got to go? I'm late. So he just leaps out in the middle of traffic, runs across like a crossway.
You need to go to the bathroom, like we all did.
Oh, that was it, yeah.
We're downtown LA, coming back from Convention Center to the Westin Buenaventure Hotel, and we all needed to go to the bathroom, like all four of us, and yeah, he could not wait, and so like eventually he just got out. I forget which street this is. It was one of the big main streets in downtown LA, and he leaps out in the middle of traffic and just starts running about 8 blocks through traffic. And I remember he got out of the car, and he's running, still kind of catching himself as he leaps out and he starts running. So he crashes into a bus and bounces off the bus and starts running.
All the people looked at him out the window like, what the hell?
Yeah, and the funny thing is that we got back to the hotel, and I guess he bumped into someone he knew, so he didn't even make it to the bathroom. He got caught in a conversation outside the hotel.
I'll tell you what, I think I've got a photo. I'll put it somewhere so you can link to it.
I remember we got some photos in the car. But I mean, that was just like, it was really fun just to kind of catch up with you guys. And I don't know when we next caught up. But I mean, I just kind of like those friendships where you meet people, they're really genuine people, good people that you get along well with. And, I like that you might see someone for a couple of years and it's like you haven't, you spoke to them a week before. It's just really good to kind of have that connection.
There's certain people you connect with, and it's just a friendship's a friendship, elongated. I've been having this conversation with a few friends because, crossing the boundary, I'm going to be 35 this year, and a few of my friends that I've been friends with for a long time have started to get really kind of aggressive and upset that I don't hang out with them that much, or I haven't been going to see them that often. And I've been like, I'm really busy. I'm doing some stuff. This is what my life's about right now. But when we're together, it should be just kind of hooked up. And I realize it's all the people that haven't got anything going on. They've hit a rut in their life and they kind of get grumpy and they start trying to reminisce about the past and kind of they have this romanticized version of what went on. And I'm like, no, it's you got to run your life first and then connect with the people around you. If anyone called me and said, I need you to help fix something or go somewhere.
Yeah, you'll drop everything.
Right, let's do it. But don't cry wolf. If I turn up and nothing's wrong, like, dude, I'm not coming again.
It's like Spider-Man and Family Guy. It's like you only get one. But I mean, no, it's totally true. I mean, I'm going through that right now, where my antidote is like 5 months. Like right now, it's been 5 months. I haven't seen anyone, and that's just kind of like how it is. And yeah, I feel like a dick because I'm not seeing as many people as I want. But I just kind of feel like this is where I'm at. I'm trying to. As we talked about before, like I'm aggressively trying to turn away work. We get that. Like we've got a lot going on, and it means that I'd rather make the time that you spend with people quality time. And like yesterday, there's a mastermind group that I'm part of, and I hosted a hike with those guys up around Malibu, and I knew that I had to do this. I made the commitment to do it, so I figured, okay, well, I'll bring some friends into the mix too, because it's my chance to see some people. So I invited some friends along as well. We went out to do moon shadows in Malibu on the beach and just drank pina coladas and chilled out. So yeah, I mean, you make the most of the quality time you can have, but it doesn't mean that you're always going to have that with everyone every weekend like you did when you were young, single, and had a lot less responsibility.
I mean, I'm pretty lucky that the studio of people I'm building is the people I want to hang out with. Like someone said, you don't seem to hang out with people other than the people you work with. I'm like, yeah, but the people I work with are cool.
Yeah,
I want to hang out with them. They're doing really amazing stuff.
It's a good thing,
I've got a bunch of people which are wicked. So why wouldn't I want to hang out with them? It's not a bad thing.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It was really fun, and thank you again, Sol. This was such a great episode to do with you. I'm actually seeing Sol in about a week's time because I'm going to be speaking at the It's Art masterclass in Paris, and he's going to fly over from London to have a few drinks, so I'm sure I'll put up some pictures on Facebook and other social media. Either way, speaking of which, add me to Facebook. You can go to my public page. It's facebook.com/Allan F. McKay, so ALLAN F for Frank, MCKAY. Okay, and love to talk to you, and I'll be posting some beer and other things up there with me and Sol pretty soon. Either way, thanks for listening, guys.